Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Here are your hosts, VicTori Belle and NateFNGreat. Whew, what a week it has been, ladies and gentlemen. It is time again for the Game Changer Podcast. I am indeed NateFNGreat, feeling just, whew. I am honestly finally getting over the cold. Like I said yesterday when I did the review for WrestleMania, it's just been one of those things where it's been one thing after another. But here again, and I cannot think of a better person to be doing this with than with my lovely, very talented, and oh so very faithful and very much understanding co-host, the one and only fabulous VicTori Belle. How's it going today?
It's good. It's good. Eventful morning, but we're here and we're on the podcast, so we made it.
Yeah, honestly, guys, I think I shouldn't really be the one talking right now, considering she just told me the obstacles that she had to go through just to get us set up for this podcast. Let's just say sibling, birds, and a little rat dog. We'll let you guys paint the picture from there. Just figure it out for yourself. We gave the tools.
Planet Earth over here at my house.
Basically. So, gosh, I mean, so much to talk about, you guys, but I think it's only fair that we have to start this off with a bang or a Shazam, as we might say, because last week we actually had the opening of the DC movie, Shazam. It premiered, and guys, people have been talking very positive about this. This is one of those movies that we have been very excited to talk about because, especially now that we're hearing, hey, good things about it. We both got the chance to watch it. Overall, yes, it's good. Is it great? Well, let's get into kind of talking about this. And VicTori Belle, since this is kind of more your realm, it is in the DC universe. Why don't you take over and tell us a little bit about the story with the whole... oh boy. Just as I say that, it just decided to cut us off. Gotta love technology. I'm literally about ready to just say it. I'm literally saying, hey, why don't you talk about the story? And then the phone's like, nope, this is not a sign. This is just technology being stupid. So
sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. But I literally just beeped and you were gone.
Gotta love
technology. Want my opinions.
Oh man. Unless they don't want you to tell the story of Shazam, which I think is preposterous, to say the least. Because, like I said, you're the DC girl. You probably would give it justice. Why don't you tell us, about the movie Shazam? Basically, what did the story all entail? As well as give your opinions about it after, telling about it.
So, basically it's a story about a magical wizard attempting to find a champion to handle the 7 deadly sins, who have been tormenting humankind for as long as we can remember, and it seems as though this wizard and all these things are linked back to the Roman, Greek empires, so way back. I think a little more Greek than Roman, actually, when I think of the gods they decided to talk about. But yeah, so back in the day, and so he's been searching for a champion, and lo and behold, when he denies people, some people get a grudge and want that power still. And so one of the kids that he denied has come back and studied all the different abductions, quote unquote, of these people going to the wizard's lair and trying to pass the test of if they are worthy, if they're pure of heart. And so he goes back and he steals an ancient eye, which allows him to control the 7 deadly sins. And once this happens, the wizard gets real about finding a champion, and he ends up pulling in a nice foster kid who's kind of lost his way and doesn't really know who he is as a person, but he calls Billy Batson into the throne area, I'm going to call it, And Billy Batson is one of the first ones who literally says he's not a good person, he's not worthy, and so he gets the wizard's power by holding the staff and calling the wizard's name, which is Shazam. And then he is turned into like a 35-year-old giant man who resembles Superman. And it's, it's basically about then the story of this kid finding family and finding himself through also obtaining these crazy magical superhero powers. And obviously he ends up having to fight the man who controls the 7 deadly sins and fight the sins themselves. That's like a good synopsis, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to play it without giving too much. I mean, still, guys, we're going to have a couple spoilers here and there, but we're not going to give too much because definitely it's worth watching. I will say this, that one of the things I definitely enjoyed about the movie is the fact that they do try to at least, reference a couple things that definitely go on within the DC universe. They definitely do mention, that there's a Batman, that there's a Superman.
Yeah.
One of the foster kids that Billy gets to, kind of gets to know a little better and gets to a little deal. He's kind of this brainiac deal who does these things for attention, but he also shows off this collection that he has. Like, he has the one of the original Batarangs that definitely was really kind of cool. He apparently got the bullet that hit Superman and got crushed. How that was even possible, I don't know. But there's a certain possibility that was probably just a knockoff at this point, and people are just saying, like, no, it's legit, the real thing. It's like, yeah, right. You probably found like something that was like it and just figured, you know what, we can make a quick buck off this. During the end credit scenes, they definitely do mention like quite a bit of the interesting deals. It definitely felt like, oh gosh, what's a good way of putting it? Like, it kind of had like a Spider-Man Homecoming kind of feel with the end credit scenes, where they had like the drawings and they had all the the deals where they showed Superman and Batman. They even showed Billy as Shazam taking Wonder Woman to prom, quote unquote, which honestly is going to be a very interesting deal, which I'll bring into a different point I want to make later on. I honestly liked the DC references that they made. They even had a post-credit scene that actually referenced Aquaman. Not going to tell you what it is. I think I'm going to let that one kind of let you guys, enjoy it. But it's still one of those things that it's worth kind of watching, considering Aquaman came out about 2 months ago, I think.
On DVD?
No, in theaters, because I think it was like...
Yeah, he came out in December.
So, yeah, about...
Right before Christmas, which... I don't know why, but yeah.
It works out that way somehow.
Right, beach, not for us.
Yeah, so another thing I will definitely say is that Zachary Levi, who we've talked about quite a bit, mainly because my co-host kind of forgets her name because it's not a typical name.
I don't forget him anymore.
Not anymore. But yeah, basically we talked a little bit about how he seemed like he was going to be a good fit for the deal. Honestly, I didn't have an issue with any of his performances whatsoever with this role. He definitely played it very well. I just actually went through like a synopsis of what else Shazam is capable of. Shazam, also known as the DC Universe's Captain Marvel, but Marvel got to it before they did, so I guess. It's one of those things where I look at everything that Shazam is capable of, and I'm thinking to myself, this is another reason why I love this movie, is because they just began to scratch the surface of what Shazam is capable of. So, with all these movies, we're going to get a chance to see what else he can do. Some of the things that they definitely kind of hint at the fact is, that he can sort of fly, he can control electricity, he can run really fast, he's got superhuman strength. They kind of go through like the typical superhero, I guess the superhero test is what they called it. And I thought the way that they kind of played it off was funny. It was like, okay, let's see if this works. And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, it works. But it kind of ends with like, some are just circled because they work. But then there's others where it's like, nope, don't have that. So I thought that was kind of a cool scene in there. One scene I definitely did say during the movie was, I think actually it was during that scene, they had one of the songs played by Queen was playing during that deal. And I'm just like, I can see why you also like this movie, because Queen was playing during this movie.
I think that was a really funny scene when they're destroying all the textbooks with his, like, lightning zaps. It was just, this was just a really cute, clever movie. I think that's what we have to, like, get out of this. I think it was a great origin story.
Mm-hmm.
I think we didn't get too much. I thought it was interesting, and are we allowed to do spoilers now or no?
Yeah, we can definitely do spoilers. So
okay,
it's a week out, so we're good.
Yeah, it was interesting. They brought like the whole like Shazam family out. Like all of the like foster kids ended up being Shazam. And that reminds me a lot of, like, the old TV show, almost like a Power Rangers type of deal. Like, they're all a different color. And that they really do have other Shazams that come out, and, like, they were kind of in their, like, corny uniforms. And they mention how corny the outfit is. They're like, what the hell? Like, why would you choose to wear that? And stuff. And he's like, well, sometimes they don't choose their uniform. Like, I didn't get to choose it. But I just think it was, like, that was a little much when they all got to be Shazam, even though, like, it happens. But I was like, in the first one? Okay. But it was cute. And it kind of made you enjoy the family more, because you wanted the kids to, like, be able to defend themselves somehow and really become a family. That was what I think this movie, was really just trying to hit home, is that family isn't, there's no definition for family. It's when you feel a part of something. And I think they all really came together at the end and made you have the good feels for them. And you're like, yay, they win!
Yeah, I want to hit on two things that you kind of really kind of stood out to me. Is that one thing you mentioned is origins, and I think that one of the best things that I got out of this movie was indeed Thad's villain origin, where he basically is one of those guys who got rejected by the wizard, and he basically is just obsessed with just getting that power again, but then finding out that there's a bigger power that he could actually control, and that, of course, being the 7 deadly sins. They did a great job of creating a creature for each of the 7 sins. I thought that those were really, really cool, and I didn't really pick up on that until a little bit later on, where it's like, oh, this one represents, lust, this one represents a little bit of gluttony, this one represents it. Okay, nice, this is actually really cool. And they eventually find out that the best way to defeat the 7 deadly sins is kind of a divide and conquer kind of deal, which I'm not going to spoil too much about that, but it's one of those things that is, again, it's a classic deal. It's a classic, army move. Divide, conquer, and that's how you'll win. So it was really cool to see that. Another thing you kind of hit on is the fact, the term family, and I think that's the best way to kind of describe this movie. It is more of a family-oriented story. It's more of a family-oriented movie. It's a bit of an interesting move for DC to do that, because a lot of times we don't see them do those kind of movies unless it involves, mainly Teen Titans. But for them to kind of take a live-action movie and take a superhero like Shazam and go down the family-friendly kind of route is kind of an interesting but also a good move, because it can show that DC can have a bit of a sense of humor that Marvel can have. And it gives them a little bit of, I think, a level playing field when it comes to their movies. This is one of the best movies that they have had come out probably since, I would definitely say since Wonder Woman. Before that had to be probably Dark Knight. So it's kind of one of those things where it's a rotation between years on how they, do like, hey, this was a good movie. This one, not so much. Then this movie came out. Hey, it was great. Then this one came out. Not so much. This one came out. So it's kind of one of those deals where it's like, well, we'll probably expect either a, less than par movie, or we could see a movie that is still just as good, if not better, come next year. Although I think Wonder Woman '89 is supposed to come out next year, if I'm not mistaken. So this could be one of those situations where it's like, okay, we might actually get another good movie. So they could be on a good roll. But getting back to Shazam, like I said, it's more of a family deal. I think it falls under the same kind of category as Thor Ragnarok kind of fell under, which was that it's not necessarily a superhero movie. For Thor Ragnarok, it was kind of like a comedy that was surrounded by a superhero movie. So I think that that's kind of the same thing with Shazam, is that it's a family movie surrounded by a superhero movie. But which is not a bad thing at all. It's still an enjoyable movie. It's just one of those things where if people are thinking that, it's going to be a full-on superhero deal, not exactly. It's going to be definitely one of those movies that is more family-oriented, and it definitely hits on the fact it's family. Definitely has a really good message about family in there. But honestly, like I said, it's not a bad movie at all. It's pretty good, in all honesty.
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely think Thor Ragnarok feels very similar to it with the comedy that's thrown in there, and it's, it doesn't have super serious tones to it, but it's just entertaining and fun. I think that's what we were texting, and I was like, you were like, I'm about to go see it, what you think? And I'm like, it's good, it's not amazing, it's a good movie and entertaining and fun. And I think that's what you get out of it when you go. So I don't think you should go with the mindset of, alright, this better be the best movie ever if it's coming out around the same time as Endgame. But you just have to realize, you know what I mean? I feel like that's...
You will be sorely disappointed if you're getting that kind of level of enthusiasm.
But some people are. You should hear some people that I've been talking to, even about Captain Marvel, they were like, is it even worth it to go see that? Because, Endgame is coming and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait, what? Don't you want to go see it? And they're like, we think it's dumb that they add another superhero at the end to help defeat Thanos. And I was like, oh man, guys, I don't know what to say to you. I just gotta go with it. I didn't even think that far into it. Because I'm more, I understand what the comic books did. So it's yeah, Captain Marvel's turn. But then, you hear some people talk about it the way they do because they're not into the comics. They're like, well, I think this is a pretty cheap way to defeat Thanos. Add another superhero randomly. I'm like, oh, I can see how that could be a little frustrating. And then they were also saying, if she's that important, why didn't they make her, 2 years ago? She definitely, she came back in the past. They could have made this movie any time and still had it happen the same way, but no. And these were guys telling me, and they're like, they just didn't trust a female superhero, did they? And I was like, oh, dang. Coming at Marvel hard, but, I have to say, that could be the reason. I don't know why they waited until the absolute end to add Captain Marvel in there.
I think I could see the point that they're trying to get across, but then again, somebody could make that same case for why did they make, a solo Black Panther movie before Infinity War if he wasn't even going to survive, the Thanos snap anyway. So it's kind of one of those situations where, you kind of understand where they're coming from. I'll tell you guys from my perspective is that this is one of those deals where, it's not really making me think oh, this movie is good, but it's not going to be as good as an Endgame. So I'm an avid moviegoer. I just go to these movies because I enjoy seeing these. I don't just be one of those situations where it's this movie might be good, but it's nothing compared to this movie that's coming up. No, I enjoy it for the enjoyment. Now we have another added factor going into, Endgame. I'm totally okay with that. And honestly, the way that Captain Marvel did it, she's good. She definitely is going to be, a really good team player. And it's kind of one of those things where it would make... let's take... Captain America: Civil War as an example. That when it came to that movie, they added 2 or 3 more characters in that movie. They added Black Panther as well as Spider-Man, and recently they also brought in Ant-Man as well. if they do something like that for, Endgame, I'm pretty sure people would have been pissed off if they would have just brought Captain Marvel out of the blue, out of nowhere. So I think it was really good that they actually got the chance to at least do something with Captain Marvel, give her a little bit of a backstory, kind of have us understand where her powers kind of come from, what she's all about, give her kind of like a deal. So that way it's kind of like, okay, we might have somebody who could probably have at least a small chance against Thanos. For me, I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to say like, oh, Captain Marvel's going to go in and she's going to beat the crap out of Thanos. No, I think that honestly she's going to put up her best, but Thanos is still going to find a way to make her basically look like, like a child trying to take on a full-grown, muscular adult. It's going to be one of those things where it's still going to be a challenge. But yeah, I just don't see any big deals of them just basically having these movies come out. It's not one of those things that's going to like make lessen them compared to when I go see Endgame. It's just one of those things where, I get where people are kind of, whining and complaining. Why'd they do this now? Why'd they do this now? But I'm kind of one of those people that's under the case, it's better now than never that they finally brought Captain Marvel into the fray.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, of course, I don't mind it because it makes for Endgame to be an even more intense battle, and she's one of Marvel's superheroes that are actually very super and pretty powerful and OP, so it's like, yeah, we kind of need something like that. But I just, it was interesting to hear someone who's not from the comic book world, kind of give their opinions on it. And, being from the comic book world, I never even thought of it like that. And so I was like, wow, yeah, that is a little bogus. It's definitely a little bogus of them to not feel confident enough to do a Captain Marvel until Endgame is basically here. But still glad they did it. Not going to rat on them too hard, but I don't know why this tangent happened. I know we were talking about Shazam. I think it was more like not comparing it to other movies. And so going back to Shazam, I think it's a great origin story. And I think if we get more of this still filmed in the way that DC films their movies, so it still has, a little darker feel, but the comedy is there and the repertoire is there with the characters to where you feel like they have something. And I think that's another thing that we've lost a lot in DC movies is when the characters come on screen all together, you're like, I don't really see them being friends. I don't see them really getting along at all. And so I just hope that now that we saw a group of Shazams all coming together and working good and seeing that a group of superheroes can definitely do a good thing, I think this just lets them greenlight a little more of Shazam's movies. And we all know that one of Shazam's movies is going to have the original hero that the wizard chose, who ended up killing all the other wizards, which is our good friend, I believe his name is Black Adam, a.k.a. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
That is going to be very cool to see.
I think it's Black Adam. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is Black Adam. I think it was an early project that they were going to try and do for the Shazam spot, but I think that project kind of fell through. So it is a work in progress for them to get this going. It might be a sequel deal. Maybe Black Adam is going to be a bit of a spin-off deal. We don't know yet. But I will say this.
And we're not for sure if it's going to be the next movie because of the intriguing caterpillar, which I believe is the mind bender or something, a mind villain.
Like Mastermind or something like that. I can't remember.
Mastermind. And, they had a caterpillar there. I'm not that familiar. I did not read Shazam growing up. I enjoyed him in the cartoons. He's always really funny and clever because he's a child. But don't really know much about his villains except for Black Adam, the anti-Shazam, basically. So, interesting. Hope hope that they put in Black Adam, because that's who I'm waiting for. I really kind of thought he was going to be in this movie, and I was like waiting for it, and he never showed up, so I was like, ah.
You know, it's kind of weird. I honestly thought that when the voice was talking to Thad in the prison cell, I legitimately thought to myself, are we getting the new Joker involved in this? Is he going to be popping up in here? And then I find out that it was the cat, but then I find out it was the Caterpillar. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is somebody different. I have no idea who this is. But then I find out, it's like Mastermind. Okay, so this is a new villain I'm not exactly familiar with, but going to do some research on it, and maybe in a future episode we can kind of talk a little bit more about some of the Shazam villains that we might have thought were either intriguing or some that we were going to be kind of be interested in. Before we get into like final thoughts about Shazam, I do want to pose this, I guess this kind of topic here, is that eventually most superhero movies do in fact do like crossovers, or they do the gang up deals. I don't know if I necessarily see Shazam getting involved with like Justice League or something like that, but I'm kind of interested to see how Shazam is going to play if they do in fact do like a crossover movie. Like how would Shazam do with Superman, or who the new Batman will be, or when they decide to do that. Maybe we'll see, Shazam and Wonder Woman. We kind of see just, the interesting chemistry that they might have, but also I think maybe Wonder Woman will have that kind of idea where she knows kind of, what Shazam is like. She knows that, he's a child on the inside, where it's kind of one of those things where she doesn't necessarily do the whole, hit-on deal, but she does still kind of be a little sweet to him, basically not exactly lead him on. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of like the nice kind of like, I don't know if I would say mother-like figure, but definitely somebody who would be really good as a friend to Shazam and be able to basically help him maybe reach his full potential, honestly, because I kind of look back at it now and I'm thinking to myself, well, let's see here. She can basically do this stuff, and she was basically molded by Zeus. He basically has the power of Zeus. I could honestly see this coming. I kind of want a Shazam Wonder Woman crossover just to see the Greek mythology deal kind of play into it.
Oh yeah, that would be really easy, I feel like, for DC to do and make happen. I also, just from recollections, I do know Shazam tries to keep his secret a secret from everyone. I don't know if he always successfully does, but like usually when he's involved, he doesn't tell any of the Justice League members that he is a child. He or a teenager, whatever you want to call it. He likes to definitely attempt to pretend to be an adult, and they all can kind of feel something different about him. Like, dude, grow up. What the hell? Like, what is wrong with this guy? But for the most part, I think he tries to keep his secret between like him and Freddy and his family and stuff. By family, just the kids. But we'll see. I almost think it's more fun when they don't know, because it leads to a lot of more comical situations of like, why is he so immature? Like, he has all this power, and it's like, hey, dude, grow up. Hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah. He's always like, oh yeah, whatever. Right. It's cool. I'm cool. I'm not geeking that it's Superman. I'm not geeking.
Right.
And I thought it was kind of interesting how they decided to go over and like introduce Superman with Shazam at the end at lunch when Freddy was getting his friends to sit by him. I thought that was an interesting take, because I think that was where Henry Cavill kind of got fired, quote unquote, because he couldn't make that scene. It's either Shazam or another movie. He couldn't make a cut-in scene, and they wanted him to be in it. And so they chose to not show his face or head at all.
Which is
I thought
smart.
that was a great choice. I'm wondering if what that's gonna lead to.
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what the DC universe has to offer us in the forthcoming movies. So final gradings for the Shazam movie. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said before, it's a family fun movie. It's one of those things where it does kind of do its job. It introduces a new hero, give us a little bit of a feel-good movie here. And honestly, it's one of the better works that DC has done in the last few years, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you do the stars, I do the letters. I think our Dean's list gave it a B+, and I think it is a solid, I would say a solid B. It was definitely entertaining, good, a little cheesy, corny at times, but made it more humorous. I think it would have been better if we did see some crossover stuff, which they attempted to do, but like we said, actors caused this not to happen, that's always kind of bogus to me. Like, you're like, oh, like, the movie had a premise and an idea, and it couldn't have that because of an actor's schedule, and you're like, that's pretty bogus. So, yeah, I think a solid B. I would like even more crossovers at this time in DC's movies. I think that each one of their origin stories should have another hero pop up so that we get more and it's still pushing forward.
And maybe it would definitely kind of give us a little bit more to look forward to, especially if they're going to revamp Justice League altogether.
Yeah, yes. I think that's a huge deal. Like that's awful that they're going to have to do that. But it's like you probably should give us a little bit of each superhero crossing over at one point or the other so that we can already see it forming again. I don't even know if they'll do like a formation video, like an origin story of the Justice League again, or if they'll just like be like, oh, let's have the Justice League come in, and then you see the members just like pop up. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's a very bad situation that they're in.
It's kind of one of those situations where it feels like they're going to be going down the Disney route, where they're kind of revamping the X-Men. They're basically replacing everybody except for Deadpool. I think that's what they're going to be doing with Justice League. They're going to replace everybody except for Wonder Woman. I think Gal Gadot does too good of a job as Wonder Woman to replace her.
Yeah. I could definitely see them just keeping Gal, but I would almost think now that Shazam did a good job, maybe keeping him. I don't know about Aquaman. It's not that I dislike him. It just, I don't know. I don't know.
It's kind of like a meh deal. I mean, the movie,
I think
if
they keep him, cool. If they don't, I'm not mad.
You're one of the few women that would be like, I'm not mad if he cut, but then there's millions of other women that are just like, no, don't get rid of our Momoa, no.
I know. Well, I like him. I like Jason Momoa, but I don't know. I've never truly felt like, whoa, that's Aquaman. Like, I just always felt like that's Jason Momoa.
I'll give him one more Aquaman movie before I reach that point. I think he's still kind of in good graces with me right now, but that could possibly change within the next few years. Who knows?
Yeah, if he stays, I wouldn't be mad either. I'm not mad either way. It's just there's no opinion. He's the gray area. Like, if they keep him, cool. If they don't, cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I did really like Henry Cavill as Superman though. And I don't know if he's totally given up on it, because like I see his like Instagram and Twitter posts, and it seems like he's still down to play it. So it just
who knows at this point? Hollywood's a weird place.
Yeah, they need better contracts.
That seems pretty obvious. All right, so guys, we're going to take a little quick commercial break. When we come back, talking a bit about the week that I had in New Jersey. We're going to talk a bit about some of the great photography as well as modeling photos that my lovely co-host has done, as well as a couple of news stories you definitely do not want to miss. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Check out the guys over at Eclectic Media Project. They bring you podcasts such as Musically Challenged. Whose podcast is it anyway? Want to hear something interesting? And their newest podcast, Page 3.14 News. Check them out on Podbean and iTunes at Eclectic Media Project, on their website at www.eclecticmediaproject.com. Check them out as they are the home with a little something for almost everyone.
Hey guys, this is NateFNGreat. Hey, have you ever wanted to be a champion but can't seem to really find the money and the time to get a championship belt? Well, you know who's a really good friend of mine? AJ from AJsBelts.com. These guys have a large assortment of championship belts, from classic belts to the modern day belts to championship belts you would not even believe. And guys, like I said, they work with you very well. With an awesome layaway program, there is no way that you can beat these guys' prices as well as these guys' deals, especially when you can give them a little bit of money every now and then until you can get that championship gold. Coming from a guy who's a champion and a game changer, I'm indeed NateFNGreat. I'm representing AJsBelts.com, proud friends of the Game Changer Podcast. You're listening to the Game Changer Podcast here on Spreaker.com. Alright guys, welcome back to the Game Changer Podcast. I'm NateFNGreat, joined here by the lovely and very talented VicTori Belle. Quite a bit to talk about over the last week. Honestly guys, we just got done with the Shazam review. Definitely check that out. It's awesome. But VicTori Belle, you actually have a couple stories for us to talk about. So by all means, what you got for us?
Yeah, the first one I would like to talk about, just in general, is the new Lion King trailer that dropped.
I did see that this morning, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It dropped this week, and I definitely retweeted / posted it on my Facebook fan page, and I was like, okay, it's not a live action, but I am definitely going to see this remake. I just hammering it home.
Reanimated, I think we called it.
Yeah. And it just looks really good. It's from the director of The Jungle Book, and I think he even toned in a little more with the realism of the animals. Mm-hmm. It shows us the first view of Scar, shows us Beyonce's Nala, it shows us Simba grown, it shows us the typical, growing up scene with the warthog in him, by the waterfall on that log. There's just so many visuals that will bring you back to the original, that just are, vamped up by, 100, turned up 100 degrees hotter and more realistic than you'd ever imagine it. It sounds like the music is going to be amazing, especially with Beyonce in there. Let's be real. This is all we ever wanted, to have Beyonce in, a Disney musical. And I'm stoked for it to be coming out, because it's one of those that does look like another Disney winner, especially after the negativity we've been hearing from Dumbo.
Yeah, like I said, 50-50 for me, but it's one of those things, neither here nor there. After watching the trailer, I don't know, I've got mixed feelings about it. Maybe it is the realism that's kind of holding me back from giving it a full-fledged chance, or it might be something else, but it's really weird. It was weird, because I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, that when they brought out either the official trailer or one of the other trailers for Aladdin, after watching it, I was like, okay, I feel a little more at ease, because it definitely does seem like it's going to be very, very true to the story. It's going to add some interesting aspects to it. It might actually be pretty good. Might be worthwhile. With this official trailer, I guess we could call it for The Lion King. Like you said, it does show a lot of the different characters. It definitely shows that there's going to be a lot of the familiar scenes. I don't know. Maybe it's just something about it that, the fact that it is a live reanimated deal, that it's still uneasy for me. Or maybe it's just a deal where it's like I'm not giving it so much of a fair chance. I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know what it is that's kind of giving me that opposite feeling where it's like, after seeing the first trailer, it's like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. And then after this one, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm a little worried now. Maybe it is because of the realism. Maybe there's something else in there. I'll have to watch it and kind of understand what it is. But there's just something there that's kind of making me go like, I'm not sure if I'm confident with this movie. I'm sure there's other people that have already bashed it, but I'm not quite to that point yet. I'm just at the point of just like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm fully on board with this yet. But like I said, I'll watch the full trailer after the show. Maybe I'll have a different perspective on it. But for right now, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I should be happy because Matthew Broderick's not in this movie. But why am I so hesitant? I don't know.
That's really funny. But yeah, I don't know. Like, we're just hoping that I'm hoping it's good. I don't ever want Disney to make a crap film. So if it's good, then sweet. A new Aladdin one dropped too, which has people excited. And I think, I didn't know if it was brand new, but it was in Shazam, like when you went to go see Shazam.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of was like, is this new, or is this...
Yeah, I don't think it was new. I think it was out on YouTube for quite a while, but it's still kind of one of those things where you kind of watch it and it's like, okay, this actually does seem interesting because, well, again, you kind of see Will Smith is actually, I think he's still playing a bit of Will Smith, but he's also kind of trying to embrace of what the kind of sense of humor that the genie would have. You definitely do see like the connection between Aladdin and Jasmine having a little more deal. I think some people are probably going to be thankful if Gilbert Gottfried is not in this because there's only so much of that, parrot voice that we can handle. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm kind of interested in seeing what they do with Iago. Maybe he's just a bird that doesn't even talk, which is an interesting idea. I mean, Abu doesn't really talk either, so that'll be kind of interesting if they just decide, no, we're not just going to have the animals talk unless it's created by Genie. It's like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to, be objective to that. We already got a movie full of talking animals called The Lion King, so I guess it's kind of one of those things where it's like we could tone it back just a little bit.
Yeah, the bird and the Lion King will talk for sure. Zazu.
Zazu. Oh man, jeez. I feel like I need to go just watch The Lion King, the original one, just for the sake of watching it because it's that good. But
yeah.
But yeah, was there another story that you had for us to discuss, or?
Yeah, I'll bring up just a few little points, and if you want to go with any of them, we can go with any of them. But yeah, just announcing that I believe today starts the annual Star Wars celebration here in Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
Kind of a huge, yeah, that's a huge deal for Chicagoans, and we are so sorry that the weather is crap, but let's be real, people who do Star Wars cosplays are usually, unless they're Slave Leia, very covered up to the point where this might be great weather for them to wear their full body armor, their stormtrooper wear, Darth Vader, full makeup, body paints. This weather is kind of the best weather you could ask for, but it is going to be storming a little bit, so I hope all the people who go out for Star Wars Celebration stay safe. Don't wear too much metal if it's thunderstorming.
Ooh.
Out there. So that was one of the things I just needed to mention. And on the space travel, I thought it was really cool to just really quick talk about. Everyone's been talking about Sauron's eye. They meant the black hole that was pictured. Have you heard of the first ever picture of a real black hole that people are calling like Sauron's from Lord of the Rings, like the eye that like looks around.
Yeah,
it does kind of look like that. I was like, it does look like he's looking at us. He's found us. Run! But no, everybody's been talking about this, and I know it feels a little lackluster, but also kind of extremely cool that we're able to see for the first time, like a black hole. And it was, scientists had let out predictions about what it would look like, I think at least 3 to 4 years ago. And they put up their predictions right next to the real picture, and it was so on point that it was almost scary. Like, I was like, wow, they really knew everything that would come out of this. And apparently the stuff swirling, the red swirl, is like going like 100,000 light speed. Like, it's crazy, and it just makes you, wonder and have a little more magic in the real world, because you don't really know what a black hole leads to. You don't know, and when a star will combust and become this swirl of craziness,
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, there's a lot of other, myths and stuff that people have fantasized when it came to, like, black holes. Like, it's going to suck everything up and we're all going to be extinct and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, we don't really know that. I mean, people just hear black hole and they just assume worst case scenario, but this could be one of those situations where a black hole could be a good thing. You never really know.
Yeah, I think it's just cool to know that it's here. They really are. They do exist, and it just makes you think that our scientists who are researching this, researching space, there's just so much that we still haven't confirmed, but that their predictions are very correct. And so when you think about when they're like, okay, like they have said, I know this is going a little far off, but they have said there is probably life in space. Like, and so that just makes you think, like, what's out there? Will superheroes come? Will they be crazy? Will they destroy us? Is Star Wars really happening right now?
Oh man,
it's just
amazing.
fun. I was like, it's a space thing. Let's talk about it a little bit.
I love it. I think it's pretty awesome. Who knows? We might just get a Millennium Falcon popping out of that black hole any minute now.
Yeah, like, whoa, Star Trek, what? Oh, Star Wars. Oh no.
That's the Starship Enterprise. Yes.
Well, isn't that the one that went through the black hole?
I think it is.
Trek?
I'm not exactly a Trekkie, but I think that is the one that a lot of people definitely talk about.
The first film, like they're like, well, no, we're going through a black hole.
I think that sounds right. Oh,
uh-oh. It's real.
It's real to me, damn it.
Sci-fiers, keep dreaming, keep believing.
So I'll touch base a little bit on the whole Star Wars deal. It's honestly one of the coolest things because we are getting close to May, which of course we'll get to May 4th, and gets the grand May the 4th be with you. And the crazy thing about this is that I think they're supposed to be scheduling a Star Wars movie to come out in December of this year, and there's really been no talk about it. There has not been a trailer released, there hasn't been a teaser deal released, hasn't been anything about a trailer being released, or any confirmation deals. It's really weird, because I think this is the first year where we're almost going through the entire deal, and there's nothing Star Wars related that's popping up, unless it's talking about the new resort that's coming in for, I think, Disney World, if I'm not mistaken, because they got this new Star Wars, resort that they're creating. But other than that, it's been kind of quiet for the galaxy far, far away, and it kind of concerns me a bit of either they're not finished with the movie, or maybe they have something else that's kind of preventing them from releasing this movie. I don't know, it's really weird. You kind of noticed that too?
Yeah, well, I don't really know too much about Star Wars, but I have not seen anything new coming out for a while, which, yes, that's weird, I feel like, for Star Wars, but I have seen that, stars of the movies, including Mark Hamill, has said that there is kind of overloading of Star Wars to the point where, people are almost, not caring as much. I forget what the actual term he uses. I had it up here for a second. But he's just saying that maybe we need to calm down with some of the releases and stuff, because we don't want people to not care about Star Wars. We want them to all love it the way they always have. But having too much makes people not... It's called Star Wars fatigue, he says.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars fatigue is a real possibility.
I like it.
And that people are getting tired of having a new movie all the time. It's almost too much. It's making it less special. Because I believe the first movies came out 3 years apart from one another, which that's a long time to wait, you know?
Yeah.
But it made people excited and stoked. Having one yearly, like, a movie, like you said, like, it's almost like, whoa, like, it's weird, we haven't seen it, like, what's going on? Like, people are like, okay, where's the Star Wars movie? Instead of being like, guys, it just dropped! And people are like, oh my gosh! Like, it's more like, alright, where are you? We're waiting, we expect it. Something like that, which you don't want. You want us to be excited about a series that you love and followed your whole life, you know?
Yeah. And I think some people might actually make a interesting point. Is like, you know, why is it that people are getting fatigue over Star Wars, but not exactly about Marvel? I think with Marvel's case, they try to mix it up quite a bit. They don't just do like an Avengers movie, you know, every single year, except for this last year, of course. They did, you know, Infinity War, and they're doing Endgame this year.
Thank God. Could you imagine if we had to wait for 3 years?
Oh, jeez. It's like Avatar all over again. Although for Avatar, it's still going to probably be at least one more year before we get Avatar 2. So James Cameron, you teaseful bastard, but you're also a genius. Great job on Avatar 2. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be interesting to see what they have planned for Star Wars. Maybe it's not going to come out until next year. The quote unquote, I guess, final chapter of the new trilogy that they had coming out. Who knows at this point? But
has there not been 3 movies yet?
No, we've only had Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. They have yet to do the third one for the trilogies. So maybe they're just going to prolong that a little bit. Maybe they're trying to make sure that everything's perfect for this one, so that way it doesn't get, you know, too much backlash like the last one. Yeah, that was.
That's what most of the people who, like, when Mark Hamill did say this about, you know, Star Wars fatigue, a lot of comments are, like, talking about how bad The Last Jedi was to them. Like, I can't say all of it, because a lot of it is a little explicit, but a lot of it is The Last Jedi was, like, pure garbage. If you make a good movie, people will watch. That's, like, ... and stuff, and I was like, oh man, but Star Wars fans, they're not nice. Like,
right.
don't mess around with their world. There's a lot of set rules that you cannot mess around with, and
they learned that the hard way.
yeah, I mean, we both saw the movie, so they definitely crossed some streams, which you're not supposed to do. Ghostbusters told us that. So.
Yeah, there's a reason why we don't talk about that movie.
Yeah.
All right. So I did say this on the podcast yesterday that I did want to talk a bit about the week that I had for WrestleMania. I did touch base about, you know, like the wrestling events. So I'm actually going to talk about the events that took place kind of in between, as well as the stuff that I got the chance to do when I was in New Jersey and the New York area. First of all, I have to talk about the Rant Gala that a lot of people definitely have gotten a chance to see. That was either on Twitch or it was on the Patreon page. Definitely go support them, Rant with Ant. I think it's the patreon.com/Rant with Ant, I believe it is. Basically, that was a lot of fun because you got to meet a lot of people who were a part of the Patreon page, and also the people that were a part of the Wrestle Addict radio community. So you got people that were from the Fourth Wall podcast, the Gift of podcast, the Not Your Mama Soap Opera podcast, Kings of the Rings podcast. So many people there. I just remember, you know, meeting up with these people, and they were just so warm. They were so inviting. They were just really nice bunch of people. Really easy to talk to. You got some points where you could actually kind of make jokes about, random wrestlers and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun to really do that. One person in particular I was definitely looking forward to meeting. I definitely made no bones about it when I met her. I said, you were the one person I wanted to meet amongst so many other people. And she basically bragged this to her fiance, was the Demon Diva, Issa. Definitely check out her YouTube page. I'm doing a lot of cheap plugs here, so keep up with me. Honestly, she is just one of those people that is a true wrestling fan, and she definitely stays true to what the product really is. She just loves to have fun with it. She shares raw emotion with it. I will also say this. I did give her a hard time when they were doing the predictions episode for WrestleMania, and she was just like, I don't want to pick between Brock or Seth, and I'm just literally one of those people that's egging her on, being like, pick, you gotta pick, and she reached, I think it was one of those points where it was like, all right, fine, just let her have this one. Let her just not make the prediction for this one. Whatever at this point. But yeah, Rank Gala is definitely something that I recommend people going to next year. Basically, go to their Patreon page, be a backer, and you'll learn how to, get a chance to be a part of that. It was a historic night, and it was a lot of fun. You got to witness so much. Just a great deal. The other thing that definitely happened during the weekend was WrestleCon. So WrestleCon was basically like C2E2, only it was mainly for wrestling fans. Of course, you had the vendors who had, they had the toys, they had the action figures, they had maybe random comics, pictures here and there. A lot of really cool stuff. But of course, you also got the chance to meet the wrestlers. And I will say this, shout out goes out to quite a few different people that really made it a lot of fun. One person who is actually my profile picture on Facebook, Marty the Moth Martinez. Real name is actually Martin. He is a really cool guy. Loved his work in Lucha Underground. I definitely was one of those fans who was just kind of like gushing a little bit over. It's like, oh my gosh, I get to meet Marty the Moth. He's really cool. Really nice guy. And he also is going to incorporate me in one of his video vlogs. So that's going to be really cool. So definitely check out his YouTube page, and you might see a familiar face there, i.e. me. But it's really cool that he definitely was one of those guys that just made it so fun to actually go to these conventions. Because one of the things I love is when they actually take the time to, talk to the fans, and they actually, get their perspective. They actually get to build some kind of relationship with you. I mean, you definitely know this from working so many different conventions. You get that chance to meet up with people who appreciate, your art, your art of, doing the modeling and doing the cosplays. You definitely get to meet them, and there's so many people that are just like, oh my god, you must have put so many hours into this. I remember putting like 5 hours into making this, and even you are just amazed, like, you put 5 hours into that? Holy cow, you are very committed to this. And just having that common ground of just being able to go to a convention, meet up with these people that have that kind of same passion. That's what always makes me love going to these conventions. It's always so much fun doing that. I will say this, that when I was in New Jersey, I did get a chance to eat some of their pizza, and it's the best by far. I would definitely dare say it's a bit better than the Chicago deep dish style. So Giordano's, you got some competition, but you're not going to lose a customer. I'm going to tell you that right now, because I'm still going to be ordering that anytime I go to Chicago. Also got a chance to ride subways, as well as trains, as well as taxis. Got to do everything in there. I will also say this, that for a lot of people, I am not one of those people that, will say anything bad about the Big Apple, about New York, but I will say this, if people are going to ask me, is it the cleanest place? No, it's really not. It really isn't. There's a lot of garbage that flies everywhere. The roads are just a big clogged up deal. You have crowds, and you have everything like that. It definitely can just be a major mess when it comes to New York City, and I think they know that by now, and they've just reached a point of like, we've accepted our fate. It is what it is.
Right.
Kind of close off this would be definitely, it's just a lot of fun doing these kind of deals, of going to these random places and meeting up with great people. Definite shout out goes out to Will from Kings of the Ring podcast, who put up with me for about 4 or 5 days, who brought me into his place, allowed me to stick around. he always said, make yourself at home, make yourself at home. And the one story that I will say that came out of this whole entire deal is that if anybody wants to know what my favorite game is coming out of New Jersey, it is Let's Play Nate Needs to Learn How to Open a Door, because his apartment building has a door. Well, his door to his apartment, I should say, is so janky and it's so weird because I have to turn the key a certain way and I have to turn the knob. It's just really weird. Literally, there came a point where I just sat outside and waited for his roommate to come in. She was really nice. Shout out to Megan, who had a, oh gosh, what was it? What was the name of the breed of the dog again? It's a Lassie dog. I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Collie?
Collie, thank you. Riley, who is an absolute sweetheart. He was also one of the quietest dogs I've ever met, who also would have loved to have feasted on the pizza that I had. Riley, thank you for not eating my pizza. It's definitely a good change up from what I'm used to here at home with a Bernese Mountain Dog as well as a Golden Retriever chewing up basically everything. So yeah, that's my week for WrestleMania week. It's an absolutely fun deal. I'm sure a lot of people would have loved the fact of me hearing like a story from Access. Unfortunately, I did not do Access this year, mainly because I was so excited to go to WrestleCon, talking to people. A lot of the wrestlers there are absolutely just really great to get a chance to talk to, get a chance to get a chance to meet. I will say one other person that I want to kind of mention. I know I said this is going to be the last thing, but one more quick side note. Killer Cross is the wrestler's name. He is one of those guys who is so wise and insightful when it comes to the wrestling business. He's one of those guys who literally will say, I'm not going to be one of those people that insults the fans. I'm going to give you guys, what you want, and I'm not going to basically take you guys for granted. He does that very well. If you see his character in Impact Wrestling, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. Literally, I said with him and his... he's either his girlfriend or his fiance. I'm not exactly sure who it is. But literally, they are just a cute couple together. But they literally could be Beauty and the Beast if they decided to go into an R-rated deal, which is literally R-rated because they decide to literally kill everyone. So, definitely one of those things where it's a tremendous week, you guys. Maybe next year when they go to Florida, I'll go to Access, but who knows at this point. I will say this, that it definitely took a lot out of me for this week. All the walking, all the interacting, it's just absolutely crazy. And I also did get a chance to hand out a lot of business cards. And there's a lot that you're going to be looking forward to, guys, when it comes to the next big convention, which is ACW Water City WrestleCon in just a few weeks, actually. I just realized that it's about 2 weeks from Saturday. Gosh, I'm not going to get a break. I am not going to get a break. And I'm kind of okay with that.
That's awesome. No, you were everywhere, and I keep seeing all your photos popping up, and they all look super fun. Looks like you had a blast, and those things do take a lot out of you, though. So I do recommend you trying to get as much rest as possible and an emotional recharge when you go to a convention like that and you're talking to people and using a lot of emotional energy as well as physical energy. And I think that's something that people don't always notice if you're attempting to promote yourself in any way at these things. And obviously, Nate, you're doing that with the podcast and having to business talk and really turn on so that people engage and want to know what you're talking about. It takes so much out of you emotionally, and you're like, I just need to take 2 days now to just be alone because I have had way too much social interaction lately. So kudos to you for being able to do it. It looked like you had a blast. And yeah, I mean, the wrestling community definitely has a party when it's WrestleMania.
Yes, indeed. And I will say this, that to your point, I guess I can thank New Jersey for giving me a cold for the last few days because I've literally just been cooped up in my room resting, just trying to be like, you know what, I don't want anybody catching my cold. I just want to rest. I just want to relax. Just let me have this time away to just kind of, get better and do stuff like that. So I guess, kudos to New Jersey for basically giving me this cold and having me basically have those days of just solitary confinement.
Oh, man.
So the other thing I definitely wanted to talk about, I think we'll definitely close with this, is that you mentioned my pictures and a lot of the fun that you have, and every single day I always try to do this. And guys, definitely check out her Facebook fan page. It is absolutely amazing, especially nowadays where you've been doing a lot more of the modeling gigs, and I think a couple of the recent ones have kind of caught my eye here. It's going to probably bring up a lot of interesting conversations. One that definitely stood out was a picture that you did with a good friend of ours, Sarah. Check her out, facebook.com/project.x.amazon. She's absolutely awesome. And you guys kind of, talk about a little bit about the picture itself. Of course, the obvious fact is that Sarah's just a tiny bit taller than you, but,
are you talking about
the back-to-back? Yeah, the back-to-back.
Yes. Yeah. So what was funny is Sarah is about 6'1", I'm about 5'11", but she was also wearing heels, and I didn't put on my heels yet. And,
okay,
and the photographer who his name is A.G. Shaw, who he resides down in the St. Louis area. They shoot out of St. Louis Photo Authority, which is an 815 St. Louis Photo Authority. It's a great little studio that really gives a lot of opportunities for up and coming models or Instagram promoters, influencers down there. They have a lot of different options in a place that you wouldn't expect. So shout out to them. And obviously Sarah works with them consistently every Thursday night. She's doing some sort of modeling for them, which having a model like Sarah is great for all the photographers there. But yeah, AG just was kind of in the zone trying to shoot, and we're like, oh, should we put on our shoes and stuff? And Sarah was done before me. She got her makeup done first. I had to do it second, so she was already fully in her outfit, and I just walked out, and he's like, okay, back to back. Okay, now do this and this. And we're like, she has shoes on and I don't. And they're like, she looks massive compared to you. And I think it's really funny because I'm a very tall woman too,
yeah.
But she really makes me look like a little munchkin right there. So we had a good laugh about that.
It was kind of funny because I look back at that photo, and the thought that comes to my mind was that I don't remember Sarah being that much taller than you. I've kind of figured maybe there's a couple inches, but it was almost at least maybe 3 or 4 more inches higher. And I'm just like, that's not what I remember.
She was wearing her heels, and I was barefoot at the time. So it definitely, she was definitely cheating a little bit, but I still think it gave us a pretty cool photo opportunity and angle to come down on, because she kind of disappears with her black outfit. But the whole premise behind that shoot was Sarah and I doing a yin yang balance photo shoot. So I was going to be the white end, and she was the dark, the black end of everything. So that's kind of where that concept came around, and we were shooting for the St. Louis Photo Authority. So that was kind of a fun little gig we were both doing together.
Yeah, honestly, the pictures turn out really well, so definitely check those guys out. Absolutely awesome. A couple other photos that you definitely did that kind of stood out to me. One was kind of I don't know if it was an homage to the 70s deal, but you kind of had this full body attire that had the rainbow kind of tie-dye kind of deal there. Was that just kind of one of those funsy deals that you decided to do, or what was kind of the story behind that one?
Yeah, so I have partnered with a few students that work down in Chicago for Columbia College, which is one of those pretty well-known colleges in Chicago that does a lot of artistic film, photography, fashion, modeling, all that. It's a very artistic school. And so I've partnered with a few students who are taking fashion courses, and I've been giving them some of my outfits that I've acquired and that I've really brought out that I think represents a lot of the good fashion that's coming out in Chicago. Last week, was Chicago Fashion Week, and we saw a lot of different things, and I do remember hearing that, like, the spring color is, like, a tie-dye or a taupe, and taupe is a very blah color to me. So I decided to do my own predictions of what I believe the spring colors are moving forward, and I really think it's a lot of animal prints. I think that prints are back, and that was kind of what I was showing with that, was a very heavy, large print that is consistent, so very matchy. You want to be very matchy, like having, even if it's not a full body suit or a full onesie, having the match on top and the match on bottom is really in right now. And then having the primary colors, I think, are a big statement piece now. So red, blue, and yellow are really big right now. Just like a solid, like, boom. Like, just be that solid color and own it. And I think that's kind of what we were doing, was just the Columbia student that I worked with, which her name is Shelby Bowman, and she's, an up-and-coming photographer here in Chicago, really is working in a lot of advertising aspects, really likes fashion. So we were shooting to her strength of selling an article of clothing versus doing any, like, top model stuff. So it was really supposed to bring you into the outfits. And so being attracted to the outfit is what we were trying to do. So I'm glad that was, you're like, oh, the outfit was interesting. I'm like, good. Like, it was supposed to, quote unquote, sell an item of clothing. So I'm glad that her photography is doing that.
Well, I'm not really one of those guys that's going to be like, oh man, this dress looks really awesome, I want to buy it. I'm more of like, the dress is awesome, but the model looks even better. Holy crap.
Oh no!
We failed at one person.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Which is very, very nice, and I appreciate it. I was trying pretty hard to, like, just have fun. Like, I know that guys don't usually do this as much as girls, but if you go online and you're shopping and you go through those, like, more fashion-y websites, you will see just like, what? Is this to sell me clothes, or she's just having a good time? Like, and you're like, oh, she's having so much fun in this outfit. I want to buy this outfit myself because I'll have fun in it. I feel like those are what kind of Shelby and I were trying to pull out, is like turning on the fan, just being in a studio, and I call these our color photo shoots. We are going to probably. We were supposed to be scheduled this Friday, but other auditions have popped up for me, so I had to reschedule. But Blue is coming. I did ask to see if people wanted more of the color shoots, and I've got that royal blue. They really want a blue, so Blue is going to be coming soon, and I might even start doing a little bit of the non-primary, like I'll do some green possibly coming up as well, But we're trying to have a good time. I want to just bring out some really fun outfits that are in my closet tucked away that can be, I don't know, repurposed and just, like, show that, hey, like, it's fun to just go out and be yourself. And the colorful backgrounds just make people think of summer and spring and that it's coming, and that's kind of what we're going for.
Well, first of all, blue is my favorite color, so you better be doing that color justice.
I will. We'll do some blue on blue, but I might bring out another color just to, like how we did with the yellow and red. I felt like they complemented each other really well. Mm-hmm. So I might bring out a yellow on the blue. I think that could look really good. But like I said, I'm trying to be true to the colors that you pick and really be matchy-matchy this year. I'm no fashion expert, but when I do partake in a lot of fashion stuff and a lot of fashion magazines, and it's just very matchy-matchy. Like, don't be afraid to just commit to the one thing this year. Like, okay, I'm wearing blue. Let's blue heels, blue everything. Let's blue it out. Or, hey, I'm wearing animal print. I'm animal printing this thing all the way down to the toes. And so I think it's just really fun. And I think it's really fun that animal print is back. And it's back strong. Like, people are rocking these animal prints, and I'm just stoked because I love going out and pretending like you're in the jungle, like you're like, all right, let's have some fun tonight. It brings out some good dancing. Like animal print always makes you want to dance, so embrace it. Get some animal print. Get a tiger suit coat, Nate. Get crazy.
Yes, I'll consider that when I go to Disneyland. I'll get like a Tigger-themed jacket. That'll just be...
Or just pretend like you like killed Shere Khan. Like, he's my jacket now.
That'd be an interesting take.
Yeah, right. And I think that's the fun part. I think coming from a costuming background and somebody... Like, I'm just creative with my fashion choices, and I guess I've been described as bold and a risk taker.
Both true, by the way.
What?
Both true, by the way.
Yeah, right. Like, do I get some hits and misses? Of course, but I think that it's fun to express yourself and have a mood when you wear. I think that's the most fun part about fashion and being involved in the fashion community is that you don't just like, what am I going to wear today? I don't care. Which you have those moments. Like right now, I'm in just like, a t-shirt. Like you're going to work out or something. But when you have like an event or you're going out in the city of Chicago or going to WrestleMania, it's like, I want to semi-costume. Like not like get crazy with it, but all right, I'm going to wear my tiger kimono out and like just feel fierce. Like I have a tiger kimono and I feel fierce in it.
No regrets.
Like, what?
No regrets.
Right, but like, and it's funny because people do look at you like they're like, "What is she wearing?" And then like, "Oh wow, that looks comfy and fun." And it's like it is like, and as long as you feel confident and you're feeling the costume, like how people cosplay, put on that Harley Quinn, and all of a sudden get a little like trickery or something in them. Like that's how you should wear fashion, just like people cosplay. I think that would make everyone feel a little more confident about their clothing and themselves, as if they feel like they're going out in something that gives them that sense of like, all right, today I'm going to be wild and have a good time, versus like, oh, I put this on, I don't know if people will like it. Like, I don't think anyone cosplays like that. I think people cosplay and they're like, now I am Wonder Woman. I feel like if you fashion like you cosplay, and just like be like, this article of clothing will now give me the power of Wonder Woman. Like, I think it just makes you have a good time everywhere you go, and I think more people should costume/fashion like that.
There we go. Nice. So you got some very strong advice here from the Game Changer, ladies and gentlemen, mainly from Victory Bell, but I offer advice every now and then. So,
you offered a lot of advice as well, especially if you're going to do WrestleMania.
One being, if a guy is late with an Uber driver, cancel it. Do not take that. And also try to make sure that he speaks really good English. But that's a different story. So I actually do want to ask this one question before we head out. Has there ever been a time where, almost seemingly eerily similar to this morning, has there ever been like a modeling gig or like a deal where it seems like nothing seems to be going right? It's like you have to go through one obstacle, then it's like, okay, we're getting to start another obstacle, or stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just recently shot on a rooftop in Chicago where it's like, okay, it's an outdoor shoot. It's supposed to be sunny. It's not. It's a crap day. I posted some of the pictures right now, and it was with Shelby again. And it's promoting, articles of clothing by Akira. It was an assignment for Akira Chicago, so it's not paid for or anything by them, but it was to show their type of style. And so the articles of clothing were from Akira, and we were lucky that we kind of got colors that weren't as bright and happy, so that a crap day where it's raining on and off and it's 40 degrees outside, you can hardly see the city in the background, and the rooftop's dirty and wet, but you just have to deal with it and pretend like it's a great, beautiful day. I felt like I kind of was in London versus Chicago, like with my outfit and like my glasses and stuff. But I was like, you know what? If it's London, it makes more sense. So let's pretend it's London out here. You just get the acting bug in there, and I'm like, I'm in London. I'm on a rooftop in London, and it's always a little damp and dreary out here, but it's okay. We're used to it. And stuff like that. But yeah, you start off late because you're waiting for the rain, and you just have to let the weather decide when you're allowed to shoot.
There you go. Honestly, that is always this factor when it comes to those outdoor shoots, is just finding the right weather, the right time, the right place. Sometimes it's very rough doing that.
Yep. Sad days. But hey, I think that the photography that I've seen from her so far, it doesn't really matter that it was kind of a cruddy day, because it just kind of goes, and it's sometimes easier to shoot when the sun isn't blasting your face. So.
Right. No, I definitely do agree with that. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap up this edition of the Game Changer podcast. You can definitely check out VicTori Belle on her Facebook fan page. Like I said, be sure to leave some likes, leave some comments, but be nice about them. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen. Be sure to give us a like and comment and subscribe to our page also for the Game Changer. Should do the same thing for YouTube, as well as on our Patreon. Become a backer, be a part of the benefits, and be a part of the change. Big events coming up in the next few weeks, you guys. It's going to be absolutely crazy. So for VicTori Belle, I've been NateFNGreat. Thank you so much. We will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.